Hey everybody, it is Kendell Lenice and welcome to Kendell Lenice Live. This is a special edition. I just told my brother that I'm kind of nervous. This is Kendell Lenice Live with a twist. This is Dr. Leroy's Takeover as he interviews me. And this is my copy, so don't matter. These are all my little interviews me on my new book, Excuse Me, You're Unhealed, is showing healing purposely and aging fearlessly. Let's get into it. All right, Leroy, you want to take over? It's your show.
It's the takeover, y'all. What's up, good people? It's your boy, Dr. Leroy McKenzie Jr., the Impact Builder. And I'm coming to you today. For those that don't know you're not seeing things, you're not misunderstanding. I took over Kendell Lenice's show for today. Just for today, y'all. Y'all still got us, y'all. She coming back. She just sitting in the hot seat today. for this special occasion. We put her in the Wendy Williams hot seat. For the day. So because there's something special that we wanted to talk about, and we thought it'd be a great idea to just be able to. I know that y'all used to having her have conversations with other people, so we thought we would flip it today, and we would have a conversation with Kendell. That's what we're gonna call it, the takeover conversation with Kendell. How's that sound? Does that sound cool?
That sounds good. I'm being a guest, so yeah, I'm being quiet.
So for those exactly. So for those that might not know a little bit, more about Kendell, that's what we're gonna try, and we're gonna do a little bit. We're gonna go back a little bit, but the main frame of what we're talking about is gonna be her book. The book that she has out that you can order now. You want to hold that up for me, Miss Kendell? That book that they can order there.
Now this is the no resale. Sorry, this is just my copy, rough copy.
That's a copy of it.
Out. So, Excuse Me, You're Unhealed is showing healing purposely and aging fearlessly. Little book with big healing.
Yeah, and it's a powerful book, and it's one that is really appropriate, for this time of year, and especially just the things that have transpired that have happened over the last week and everything like that. So we're going to talk a little bit about those things and just what got her into writing and all of those good things. We're going to kind of take you behind the curtain with Kendell to just a little bit about her, but then also we're going to talk about that unhealing that needs to get done. So without further ado, I'm gonna allow her to. The way we're gonna start this off, Kendell, is I want you to introduce yourself to everybody. Just tell them a little bit about who you are, who Kendell Lenice is, and then we'll get into a little bit of your background, and we'll get into how you got started writing and everything. Because we know you got stories for days. You probably got a story about how you wrote about somebody. Like what's the movie? Tom Hanks. What was the movie? Forrest Gump. Forrest Gump has stories about everybody that he encountered.
Professor Dan.
Forrest Gump knew everybody. Talk about it. But tell the folks just a little bit about who Kendell Lenice is, and introduce yourself to the peoples.
Okay. Look at me. I'm all nervous. I am Kendell Lenice. I go by the Remix Coach. I'm a transformational life coach of 20 years, as well as a healing coach and an aging coach. I'm an author, a speaker, a podcaster, a change agent. It's all about, I truly believe that I'm here to help any way I can. I've been this way since I was a little girl, always trying to help, always cheering for the underdog, always making sure someone didn't feel excluded. I was very inclusive even at an early age. So this is who I am, and if I have to use my life to help heal others, that's what I'm going to do. So that's the short version, I guess.
I love that. I love that. I love that. Now let's talk about this. How did you get started? You talked about life coaching. We'll get into that in a little bit.
Mhm.
But how did you? What got you into writing? Because this isn't your first book.
No.
For those that may not know, this isn't your first book. But what got you started in writing? What made you want to pick that pen up and that paper up and begin to say, "Hey, this is something that I really want to do."
I don't ever remember not writing.
Really? Okay. Okay.
I've been writing so long since I was little. I used to write poems and essays and short stories and letters. And I just found it is just a natural way to express myself. And I definitely believe that I'm a better writer than speaker at times because people
Mm,
don't even realize I'm an extrovert, yes, but I'm an introvert as well. Ambivert is, I guess that's what they call it. But I get shy sometimes, So I love writing. I love expressing myself and I never get writer's block. That's why I know it's a gift from God.
mm.
Like he writes through me. Like I can write like nonstop. And some of the stuff I'll be like, that's God. You know what I mean? So even in high school, I wrote for my baccalaureate, I wrote for the graduation, anything that was there to write or to have like a poem or something like that, i would I would write that, whether it was for a wedding, somebody's poem for their wedding,
Really?
or
Okay.
yeah, I always am able to express myself through writing.
It is interesting that you say that you never get writer's block because I know there are many of us who are authors who are writers that be like, you know what do I do when I get stuck? And for you to be able to do that and to be able to go through that, I think is phenomenal. Because you just like you said, you're gonna let it flow through you, and you don't have a problem with things flowing through you. Now, you mentioned a couple things. You mentioned being a poet. You mentioned being a now this book isn't poetry. It's not a book of poetry. And your other books haven't been. I don't know if you had a book of poetry. I know you have poetry that you've written, but I don't know if you put it into a book of poetry. But your books tend to. I want you to talk about the different books, the kinds of books that you've had, and then
Okay.
we'll go from those to the different genres.
Okay. So the first book that I've been part of conglomerates of books. So I won't talk about those because I've been, asked to write for different compilation books. So I won't talk
Mm-hmm.
about those. But the first book that I ever published was, I think, 2005, and it was a novel. And I love novels because you can just let your imagination go. I'm working on another novel now about the quarantine. I'll give you a hint.
Mm.
It's a love story during the quarantine. So that's my novel.
Oh wow. Okay.
The
Okay.
first book that I published was a novel, and you can use your imagination. It can just flow, and you talk about things talk about things maybe that has happened to you or someone else, or you want to see happen. So it's good that way. But my first self empowerment book was, I think, 2015. And that was called The Best Gift Ever, A Guide to Loving You, Learning How to Live Your Best Life. And then the second one was an ebook, Grow, Glow, and Grace. And that was being better, wiser, and more fulfilled. And I gotta look. I don't even remember. That came out shortly after. So it's been like 4 books in the matter of probably 4 years. I'm gonna look just to even make sure for myself because I don't even know honestly when that came out. So Growth, Glow, and Grace, A Guide to Being Better, Wiser, and More Fulfilled. That came out November 1st, 2019. and that was an ebook that's available on Amazon. And then I did my my personal journey of peace, a 30-day guided journal, which is amazing. It's on sale on Amazon for only $6.92, and it's phenomenal. And I'm not just saying that because I wrote it. If you want to do your self work, that's good. And that came out April 8th, 2021. So now here we are, December 16th is when it came out, 2022. I have this book, and excuse me, Your Unhealed is showing, Healing Purposely and Aging Fearlessly. I think this is my most, well, let me talk, the first self-empowerment book, I did have a poem at the end of every chapter to sum up the chapter. But
wow. Okay.
yeah, but this book is my most vulnerable book yet. I shared a lot about me. I usually give sprinkles of me and share about me in every book, but this one was really, I allow God to kind of work through me in a sense, because there were certain chapters that I did not want to write. There were certain chapters where my keyboard was literally wet because I was crying as I was writing it. And I did a chapter on death and desertion and how to heal from that. And I talked about a lot of the deaths that I've experienced in my life. And that got real deep and real personal, completely vulnerable. And if you know anything about me, I don't like talking about death. I don't like really, not, I don't want to say acknowledging, but that's not something that I would have wrote about on my own, because I had a list of potential chapters that I was going to do. And that wasn't originally on there. But that's one of the longest chapters, and I wasn't even going to write about it. So it got real, personal. And I didn't want to write a memoir, but I did share a lot. When I first intended, to write this book, it wasn't going to be that. It was going to be teaching and life coaching and going through. I wasn't going to share a lot of my life. That wasn't the plan initially. So I thought. And this was the first book too that I actually didn't write straight through. I stepped away for 2 months and picked it back up, because some parts were just like, okay, I allow God to kind of like, no, I don't want to say kind of, God moved through me. And this was the first book that I didn't write straight through without taking a large gap. And I did.
Yeah, I want to delve in a couple of things that you talked about. Really quickly, I want you to talk about the difference between writing your personal book and then being a part of a collaborative book or an anthology. Can you talk a little bit about that difference and how you did? Was there a different approach that you had for the two?
Well, when I'm asked to be a part of a conglomerate when it comes to amazing writers, like I did one last year, which was phenomenal. And shout out to Pam Gurley. We did a book called Black Girl Activists, and it was about different experiences that Black women have. And my chapter was on taking the cape off, being a strong Black woman. And it was a piece. I remember I was up in the middle of the night writing that, and I was part of that book. So it's always nice to be a part of a conglomerate, a compilation book. And I did one a few years ago about marriage. I added a piece to that, and there was just different books along the way that I was pleased to be a part of. So the difference is that you hear several different stories or several different outlooks or takes. But when it comes to my writing, I write based off of what I know, what I feel, what I've researched, what I've studied, what I've been through, what I've coached about, what I've posted about. So it's a little more personal, and it's a little more writing. Obviously, when I'm part of it, I can't write a whole book. I'm limited to a certain structure or a certain page limit or number count.
Right, because it is going to have that structure within it. So that's one thing that I wanted to kind of talk about before we get into the book. But the second thing, something you said that is really important that I want you to talk to other authors that are writing their story. One thing I noticed you said that your intent in the beginning, um, the book didn't turn out that way. And you tell me if you've noticed this with you and other authors that you've dealt with and kind of interviewed, whatever,
Hmm.
that they understand that the book kind of takes on a persona of its own, and
Yeah,
you just have to kind of go with it because it's
yeah,
going to develop itself
yeah,
as writers. So can you talk a little bit about that, being a writer and all of a sudden saying, you know what, no, I know I had this idea
yeah,
of what I wanted it to be, but
yeah,
then allowing yourself to be flowed through and
yeah,
allow that writing to take place.
yeah. Like I said, that's how this book was. I had a list of chapters. I was like, oh, I'm gonna talk about this. I'm gonna talk about this. This chapter is gonna be named this. And then God stepped in, was like, but you struggle with this, so let's talk about this. Or let's show people that, you know, it's not always happy go lucky. You know what I mean? You experience things, you have emotions and feelings, you've had trauma in your life, you've had losses in your life. Talk about that. So the book is still therapy and counseling and coaching and giving wisdom. And it's still, you know, my humor is in there, but my honesty, my tears, my vulnerability is in here also. So I definitely show people how to heal and what they do. So it's through example, through research, through teaching, and through my own experience. So you'll get all of that. And I break it down in different chapters so you can understand. Like I have, you know, I don't want to give everything away,
Of
but
course.
when I say heal, my acronym that I talk about in the book is HEAL. Honor everything about life. HEAL. Honor everything about life. That's heal.
Mm.
You know, and that's something that came to me literally when I was writing. That's nothing that I planned. That's nothing that I have, but that's how God works through me. I'll be writing and or speaking, and I come up with all of these great, you know, ideas or these great um words or acronyms. And that's nothing but God coming through me, because I didn't know I was going to write that. As I'm writing, I was like, heal. You're going to honor everything in life. So I definitely, you know, put that. I have chapters. I mean, I can, I'm trying to, I want to read some things too. So when you get to that part, I know you have things for me because this is your show today. But I have a piece talking about uncover the cover up. And it's just like saying, according to CNN.com, their research shows that 90% of Americans have prayed for healing. 90% have prayed for healing. So when people ask, well, what do you pray for?
Mm-hmm.
90% said healing, which tells me that so many people out here are hurting and they need to heal. You know, the first chapter opens up with healing is not free.
Mm.
It's not. It's going to cost you. It's going to cost you. It's going to cost you. But this is a price that you can't afford not to pay, and that's healing.
Wow, that's deep. That's deep. I got some other quotes that I'm going to be asking you about too,
Okay.
from that you have here.
I don't
But
know what Leroy Reese, he I don't know what he's gonna say. This is Leroy's show today. And I
nah,
said,
it's
I'm nervous.
trust me, it's nothing tough, nothing difficult. These are all things that you've said, so I know that you will be able to process them and give the meaning behind what you wrote and everything like
Yeah.
that. So, um, but I want you said something I think is really key. You talked about how you had to step away
Mm-hmm.
from certain parts of the book when
Mm-hmm.
you were writing certain parts, and
Mm-hmm.
I tell my clients, and I don't know if you tell yours this as well, that happen to be writers.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm gonna ask you this: did you find yourself um going through the same emotions that you went through at the time of what you were writing about. And you had to, because of that, you had to kind of give yourself a minute before you went through, because I've told my authors that were writing their story, I said, it's going to take you back to that place.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to take you, it's good. I mean, all of those emotions, all of those things that you felt back then, you're going to experience again, and you have to be ready for it,
Mm-hmm.
especially if it's a difficult place
Mm-hmm.
that you're trying to go to. Did
Mm-hmm.
you find yourself having to do that with that when you said you had to step away?
Honey, I cry. I just let it flow on the keyboard. Because once the feeling and once the emotion and once the memory is there, you can't walk away from it. Like you
Mm,
got to keep going because you
mm,
really don't want to have time to think and process it and do what human beings do, make it look pretty.
mm,
You just got to tell it. There's a couple of times where I had to walk away and reevaluate and continue writing. But some
mm.
pieces I just kept writing.
Okay, okay,
And some
okay.
pieces, like I said, I took the summer off. I never do that when I write. And it was God saying, do it, because I experienced so much in a certain period of time that I started rewriting. And I know that that was purposeful
Mm,
for the
mm,
book. Because had I not stepped away, I would have summed up the book and hadn't had certain experiences or feelings or emotions. So that was God. Like I didn't even think about it. I just was
mhm,
like, oh, okay, I didn't continue, and now I'm continuing. And when I stepped back, like the death of comedian David Arnold had happened.
yeah.
I talked about him in the book and how that really affected me,
Okay.
and then I go on to talk about death. A lot of people don't know I watched a man die unexpectedly. Like I watched him, the doctors try to revive him and they
Mhm.
couldn't. And I literally watched a man go limp and die, and that's trauma.
Yeah. Yeah.
That wasn't something I was expecting that day. It wasn't something like somebody was sick and it was already planned and I already knew that I had no idea. It was like, I heard him say his last words. I heard him, try to take off jewelry to give it to his loved ones because he knew. And then all of a sudden he died. Like, and they were
Mhm.
trying to revive him. Like that was something that's etched in my brain.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. And see, your
And
books.
originally I didn't have that in there.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Because
Okay.
sometimes you think they're experiences and you really don't even like, wait a minute, that's trauma. Hold up. Let me put that there. I wasn't, because it was just part of my life and it's an experience. And I had to really, I went back and put that in there because that's trauma.
Yeah.
The average
Yeah.
person doesn't see that happen. And you'll be surprised how many people have watched somebody die. That's the crazy part. And they just keep going.
Yeah. And that's the thing, though. Some people may have not only seen trauma, but encountered trauma, but not dealt with the trauma.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that's where your book comes in. And I love the title. And I'm gonna ask you about how you came up with that title. But before we get there, um, what made you want to write this book?
Who? I talk about healing a lot on social media. I
Mm-hmm,
talk about, as a healing coach and my own journey of healing, and I'm still healing through some things today. You know what
mm-hmm,
I mean? I still see my unhealed places showing when I have
mm-hmm,
conversations with people, when I experience maybe rejection or abandonment, when I see certain things happen. I can see my own unhealed is showing. And I could be watching TV, I could be watching a reality show, I could be talking to someone and they might respond a way, do a thing, not do a thing. And I'm telling you, my discernment is so strong, I can see it in other people. I will tell my daughters, they've witnessed. I'd be like, there's something behind that smile. They're not. It's something blah, 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 blah. And it's this. She's experiencing blah, 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 blah. And then it'll reveal itself. And later on down the line in the show, or a month later, or if it's a friend or somebody, they'll end up saying exactly what I told my daughter. Like, I can see it, and I'm able to befriend people, give grace to people, acknowledge certain things because I can see it. It's not meanness. It's not cattiness. It's not jealousy. It's not whatever these things that people say about people. It's not. It's unhealed places that are showing in them. And I see it. It's showing. They don't think it's showing, but your unhealed is showing. And the best person, if you're really in tune with yourself, is really you seeing your unhealed first. Because I can see mine when I'd be like, oh, girl, you still got work to do right there. And I wanted to eradicate, because I am a life coach and a healing coach, but I love the fact that I'm a human being that has had experiences and going through things. So what better person not to do it so I can eradicate? Even with my knowledge, my tools, all of this stuff that I know, that doesn't change someone's healing process. You know what I mean? Or I should say not the healing process, because I can change my healing process, but that I have healing to do. Everybody does. So I go through examples of what people might not think is healing, which really is. It's like they think it's an experience. Like I just talked about the man dying. Like, most people just talk about their experience and not realize. So even with my clients, I'd be like, dial back. Listen to what you just said. No wonder you can't trust. No wonder you can't love. No wonder you can't be vulnerable. Did you listen to the things that you just said you experienced?
Yeah.
And people just get right by it. And I'm here to pull, honey. We got dust everywhere. I'm pulling up the rug, pulling it up. Like the old people beating the rug on the porch. That's what I'm doing.
You showing your age there, lady. You
Man, beating that rug. I had to go out there and put that rug on the porch and beat that rug.
Wow, and you said a lot, and in this day and time, as I was listening to, and you know me, I'm listening to Clubhouse earlier today, and I try to regulate this stuff because it's toxic to be, but there's so many people, and listening to them, and I'm listening because I'm being intentional about why I'm listening.
Yeah,
there's so many people that are hurting and haven't dealt with their unhealing. I mean, it was this one young lady, I lied to you not, and I'm gonna have to go back and see if I can find the show and send you that and let you listen to it and listen to this one particular young lady. I mean, and she was and they let her go. They let her just go on this rant and everything like that. I was like, ooh, this is much deeper than the conversation that they're having here.
Yeah.
I was just like, this young lady is hurting from something that she hasn't dealt with. And I'm just like, you could hear it. And like you were talking about that discernment, you could just like, I could literally hear it and feel it in her voice. And then there's so many of us that haven't been able to, deal with the unhealing and do that. So I think it's important that you have written this book at this time because it'll show people, and I'm sure you'll tell us. I want you to give an overview of what the book is about. We're not going to talk about what's in the book because we want people to go buy the book.
Yes.
Go buy the book.
Amazon bestseller, y'all. I mean, and not just because I wrote it, it's because people need it. They really do. Yeah, and I purposely, it's very easy to read. I wanted to have it small in size because I wanted to say big healing, little book. So it was intentional. It's bigger than Acts of Faith. You remember Acts of Faith with Ian Levan Zant? Everybody was walking around with that book. It's bigger than that. But, that's the idea. We can throw this in our bag. You can throw this in your purse. You can throw this in your backpack. You can hold it in your hand and you don't feel like, that you're carrying this clump. And you can read this on a train, on the plane, on the bus. You can read this every time you go to the bathroom. You can read this, a chapter a morning, however you want to do it. It's not going to overwhelm you where you'd be like, Because, I've had books where I've written 300 some pages or 400 some pages or 200 some pages. And I purposely wanted to have this like a grab and go. Mm-hmm. And I didn't want it to be intimidating. I wanted it to be an easy read. I wanted to share, my life and stories with you, and this is not, let me say this is not a woman's book. This is a people book, because men have feeling and emotions too. And I know when you talk about self-empowerment and healing, I remember when I did my first self-empowerment book, The Best Gift Ever, a guy came to me, he was like, yo, this is helping me. Like, I can really, and I'm like, yes. I've had people like, this helped me in my relationship. Yes, because it's not, people just think of self-empowerment and healing as a woman's thing. So I just want to be clear. I tell a story, and I don't want to give up all the stories, but I tell a story about one of my exes and how he was telling me that he was happy to he normally didn't deal with light-skinned women. He only liked brown and dark-skinned women. So it was almost like he was giving me a chance being this light-skinned woman, later to find out he had trauma with his light-skinned mama. Mm. And after he started telling me, I'm like, oh, the unhealed in my head is showing, because the women before me were brown skinned, the women after me were brown skinned. And he took a chance, and he had so much baggage and trauma with the light skinned mama that he probably wasn't even aware of, or would probably say that ain't it. But the more you listen to somebody speak, the more you can hear the unhealed.
Wow.
Even if you're not ready to address it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's actually powerful what you just said there. So I want you to, one, talk a little bit about what the overall, if you can give us an overview of the book, and then I want you to talk about what you want the reader to come away with from reading the book. And to me, I think that this is one of those books that it's not necessarily a read and be done with it. This is a book that you can come back to time and time and time again. Yes. And especially if you're going to do the work that you talk about. These are things that you can reflect on, that you can come back to and be like, oh, okay, I get that now. I get it now. And how you can continue yourself in being better. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I'll read just a little part of the back. If you aren't healing, then you aren't free. In this book, you will be able to recognize yourself through examples and difficult truths. Many people are unaware of their need for healing until they are forced to deal with it. If you don't address your healing will address you through your behavior, sadness, and quiet moments. And then I say, I share my life with you to make you so you can understand that you're not alone. There is no need to be embarrassed. Healing is never a destination. It's a continuous journey. Self-awareness is a gift, and the willingness to heal is a decision that won't come up void. So what this book is about, and what I want my readers to get from this book, is to, number one, see areas in their life where they do need to heal. Right. And then see areas, when they interact maybe with other people, how they need to heal. Or I want them to say, you know what? I can do this. Like, I can wake up today and make the choice to start the healing process. And it's a healing process for the rest of your life. It's not like you're going to be healed and then you can go, because different things do trigger you. Different things may still come up, but it's learning how to handle and learning how to deal with it, maybe in a different way. So that's really what it is.
I love that. To
use me, if I have to be a sacrificial lamb, you know what I mean? For someone to say, okay, Kendell is doing it, or Kendell experienced this, maybe maybe I am all right. Or the people that think that they're perfect out there. Hello, perfect people. they might not understand everything is good. You hear people, everything is good. I don't need to heal. I ain't have no trauma growing up. I didn't have no this. And it's not about what you think. When people think about trauma, they think of big T's. There's big T's and little T's. There are little traumas and big traumas. But if your best friend that you grew up with from kindergarten to 5th grade, let's just say, was your next door neighbor. You see that neighbor all the time. You played together. You could stay at their house. They could stay at your house. You went to all your activities together. You celebrated all your birthdays together. And that family literally picks up and moves across town or moves across the country. That person, that friend that you had is ripped from you. That's trauma. Because now you don't know why you're scared to get close to people. You're scared to be vulnerable. You think it's abandonment. You think everybody's going to leave. That could stem from your friend without notice, their family moving. So people, it's not always rape. It's not always drug addiction, homelessness. It's not always the big things that you may think of. There are little things that can really impact your life and the decisions that you make.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that, man. This conversation. I knew it was gonna be rich. I knew it was gonna be good. Um, but now I'm gonna really put you in the hot seat because I'm gonna give you rapid
Okay.
fire. Okay. But no, this is nothing more than the quote. And you know me. I told you I do my homework. So I took nothing more than from your overview.
Okay.
I got the quotes that I just thought were really great nuggets. I don't want you to talk about
I got
them.
nothing but time. We can keep
Really,
for another
really
30 minutes.
quickly.
We good. We can
So
make this hour.
the first quote that I saw that I liked says, "Your unhealed places are hindering you from your next level." What does that mean to you?
Some people don't understand why they can't get that promotion, why they can't get that ring, why they can't have the job that they want or the career they want. Because it's probably the behavior, it's probably because of the things that you may say, it's probably because of the things that you don't do, that you don't recognize, that you don't see. And sometimes God has a way of blocking things until you get that message or get that lesson. And sometimes repeatedly, the same things continue to happen because you are not self aware. So it's hindering you from moving to the next level. It's hindering you. How can you get married if you can't get close or vulnerable?
Mm.
How can you get the job you want and you can't accept constructive criticism? How can you have the things that you need in life and you're not willing to say, okay, who am I? What do I need to do to make me a better person? So sometimes it's hindering. You don't trust. How are you going to have a friendship that's going to last the test of time? You can't get vulnerable. You can't share things. So how are you going to have those friendships that are like family if you're unable to connect? And sometimes the blockage is the unhealed part. And once you start healing, the world will start opening up for you, and things that you didn't think that you could get or you can have, you'll start to be able to have.
Yeah, I love that. The next one you already said before, but I want you to, I guess, talk a little bit more about it. It says, if you aren't healing, then you aren't free.
Nope, because you're in bondage, because you're pretending or you're ignoring or you're neglecting. And you can't be free that way because there's so many different things holding you back. It's hard to be able to be free. But when you can recognize your own self and you can say, ooh, like you can look at yourself and say, okay, you're doing too much. You're not doing enough. Okay, chill out. Or you can't have those conversations with yourself. You're not free because you're always in bondage, hoping nobody discovers who you really are and what you've really been through.
Wow. Wow, I told y'all. I told y'all. All right. Many people are unaware of their need for healing until they are forced to deal with it. If you don't address your healing will address you through your behavior, sadness, and quiet moments.
Yep, because it's going to show up and your emotions are going to take over. Your fight or flight going to take over.
Mm,
All of
mm,
these things will take over. If you don't address it, it'll start to address you. You'll start losing everything around you. You'll start losing everybody around you because of maybe your disposition, maybe your attitude, and it's going to address you. And usually people don't start making transformations until something happens and they're forced to. So I
mm.
want everybody just to do it before you're forced to. I don't want you to lose everything and everybody around you. You know what I mean? I want you to be able to address what's going on with you so you can start healing for yourself, not even for other people. Because if you're healed, then or beginning the healing process, you can affect and inspire someone else to do the same. And they'd be like, I don't know, there's something different or there's something lighter about you, and you can tell them what you're doing, or you'll be able to share it. So I don't like when people say hurt people. I want to
Mhm.
really change it to healed people.
I like that. I like that. Yeah, that's a better mindset, and that's a better way of approaching that, is by getting healed. Because if I'm
Yeah.
healed, then I won't want to hurt other people.
Yeah.
And I like what you said too, because I firmly believe this, that we as humans, we can only hide who we are, that facade, for a
Mhm.
certain period of time, and then
Mhm.
our true character
Mhm.
and who we are at the core of who we are is eventually going to show. So when we
And
talk
that's
about
the
getting,
hurt. That's
hmm
not even the core person who we are. It's the hurt person that's carrying all the baggage of experiences.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And when we talk about, when we talk about getting into relationships and getting to know someone, it's, to me, yeah, people can put up that facade for 3 months, maybe even 6 months, but
Mhm.
usually around that time you're going to see somebody who they really are, because I'm a firm believer in having to see people through all 4 seasons: the good, bad, the ugly, and
Mhm.
the uglier,
Mhm.
because you need to know how they're going to react to good things, just like how they're going to act to bad things or situations and stuff like that. And that will show you the true character of who somebody is, who they
Mhm.
are, and kind of who they are at their core, that baseline. And from that you can see, wow, yeah, this is somebody that I don't need to have in my space, or this is somebody that hasn't dealt with their unhealing
Yeah.
as of yet, and not somebody that I want to have around in my space, because I'm dealing with my own unhealing. So
Yeah.
yeah, two unhealed people
Yeah.
dealing with dealing with their, or being toxic, and not dealing with their healing.
Yeah.
So, you know, okay, here's the next one. Personalities often hide behind unhealed places, life experiences, and trauma.
You did your homework with my
I
little
told you.
you did your homework. You do your homework. Yeah. And I said it because most people think that it could be somebody's personality. Like that person is stubborn, that person is distant, that person is mean, that person is toxic. Look at that person. Nobody want to deal with that person. You got a bad attitude. Your attitude stinks. And they think that somebody was born with an attitude or somebody was born mean. I never seen a baby mean mug when they were born. Ain't nobody born mean. It's people's
Mm,
life and people's experiences. Children see a lot of things, and a lot of children, are hurt as children, whatever way it comes, growing up in childhood and in adulthood, and people are hurt and wounded and been through experiences. So their personality is going to reflect that.
mm,
Nobody is born mean, angry, mad at the world. You just got here. So people have to really give one another grace. I'm not saying allow people to hurt you. I'm not saying, that, but also, and there is a scripture that talks about that. And, even, praying for your enemies in peace. I forgot which one it is, but
mhm,
it's like you do have to extend that grace. It doesn't mean that you have to deal with them. It doesn't mean that you have to break bread, be friends with them, but you can forgive in your mind for you and understand that they're going through trauma. And I even talk about, I have a chapter on here about parenting and parents, and understanding sometimes they do the best that they can. And your parents and your grandparents have been through trauma and experiences. So they're raising you based off an unhealed space. And that's where the cycle is. So I made a declaration in my book for people to really stop it at you. Whatever generation you're in, stop it at you and really leave the legacy of healing and being okay with having discussions like this.
I love that. I love it. I love it. I love it. All right, we got a couple more. couple more. You can't live your best life until you commit to healing.
Facts. I said it.
That part right there.
You can't. Like, how can you live your best life if you are not free, as we talked about earlier, or if you're not on a healing journey, or if you're not trying to be the best version and the best person that you can be right now? Like, it doesn't matter what you've experienced and what you've been through. You can really make a choice and a change to say, you know what? I'm going to be better. I'm going to work on me. I'm going to heal some things. I'm going to look at, some things, and I'm going to move from there. You can't live your people talking about, I'm living my best life. How? When you are in bondage and your unhealed is spilling all over the street. How are you living your best life? Being ignorant to the fact of what's happening, ignoring your behavior, ignoring how you are. Like, you can't live your best life like that because it's still bondage.
Yeah. And oh man. And then I'm gonna follow it up with this one. And you said this a little earlier. There is no age limit to growth and healing.
Nope. And my saying, it's never too late to remix your life at any stage, age, or phase. Any age, stage, or phase, you can remix your life. Like, just because you're 65, it doesn't mean that you can't be better tomorrow than you were today, that you can acknowledge some things about you that, that you might not even like, that that you're sick of yourself with. You can still say, you know what, I'm going to be better. This time when I get on the phone with this person, or when I go over here to this meeting, I'm going to check me. I'm going to look at me. I'm going to look at some things. I'm going to sit in the dark quietly and reflect on my life. You can do that at any age. Whether you catch somebody when they're 13 years old or you catch somebody at 63 years old, you can still make a difference, and it's not too late to start healing. Some of the older generations want to push it under the rug, and they'd be like, well, why dredge up old stuff? It happened to everybody. I've heard older people say, well, everybody's been hurt. It's happened to everybody. You just push through and deal with it. Yes, but we got to stop pushing through, ignoring. We need to push through the healing, not suppress the healing and push through until you break one day, until you crack all over the place, till you spill all over the place, till you go off on somebody. You can't wait until then. You got to start it now.
Yeah, that is so important. That is so important that we understand that. All right, here's the last one. Stop hiding from your healing.
Face it. You hiding, in crevices and corners. You think if you quiet and you hiding in the back and you ain't saying nothing, then people can't see you. It's like hiding behind a tree and you 550 pounds. Like, we can see you. We can see you. If you can see me, I can see you. It's really like, who you hiding from? You. God can see you. Like, so you can see you. God can see you. You 500 pounds hiding behind a tree. I can see you.
I'm cracking up because I'm cracking up because have you seen the TikTok that the two guys did with I guess I guess the lady was one of their husbands, or I mean wives, or something like that. But they were Ravens and Steelers fans. The two guys were Steelers fans. I mean, were Ravens fans, and the wife or the woman, she was a Steelers fan. So they sitting on the couch on the opposite ends of the couch. She comes and sits in the middle of them, right? And so they lean back and they got the remember Medea's class reunion? I
Oh
think that was
God.
the one where she says, "Do you see me?" He said,
Oh,
"Yeah, I see you."
right.
I see you. She don't say, "Well, we two big fat fur purple
Oh yeah,
ponies."
I did. Looking Barney. He said something about Barney or something.
Yeah.
Right.
But I think when it comes to our dealing with our healing,
Mm-hmm.
it's there. But like you were saying, we don't want to. We want to ignore it and act as if we ignore it, then it'll just go away.
Yeah.
Or like you were saying just a little bit earlier, the people that sweep it, that just want to sweep it under the rug and don't want to have to deal with. Oh,
Yeah.
that's just old stuff. I don't want to talk about that. I don't want to
Yeah.
deal with that.
Yeah.
And that goes back to what you were saying, that until we deal with the unhealing, we won't be free. We
No.
can't be free
Mm-mm.
because it'll always be that luggage. It'll always be whatever it is that we're carrying around. It's almost like that. What was
Erica
the
Badu.
what was that Shakespeare play, The Scarlet Letter?
Oh yeah.
You know, it's somebody that's always walking around with that scarlet letter on them.
Yeah. Or you're walking around with a bag full of bricks.
Yeah,
Like you're
yeah.
walking
Yeah.
around with a bag full of bricks and you
Mm,
keep shifting it from one shoulder to the next. It's still going to be
yep.
bricks. It's still going to be heavy. It's still going to hinder you from moving fast, skipping, jumping, hopping. You can't hold bricks on both sides, either side, and still live the way that you're supposed to live because you are going to be tired. You're going to want to, at some point, you're going to want to say, let me pull these bricks down. Let me put them down because it's too much. And that's when most of the time people start addressing their healing, when it just gets too heavy and they got to put the brick down because now the bricks are
Mm,
compiling and doubling and now they're boulders where they can't even move anymore. And now they're like, something got to give. Let me go to coaching. Let me go to therapy. Let me seek God. Let me go to church, and people start doing that towards the end of the year, towards the beginning of the year. And then in the middle of the year, they're still
mm-hmm.
their same unhealed self. But when you get
Yeah.
tired of carrying the boulders and the bricks, you get tired of having the weights on your ankles, because it's almost like you're shackled when you're unhealed. You're like shackled like this. So you can't do some of the things that you want to do because your healing is preventing you from living free. That's what I mean, free. Just imagine if you're walking a mile, right? And you got 25 bricks on this side with a bag. You got 25 bricks on this side. I'm talking about the old school red bricks right here. Then you got a backpack of another 30. And then now you got on weighted shoes. So how far do you think that you're going to get weighed down? At some point, you're going to be tired and you're going to say, you know what? I need to move this so I can be free, so I can run forward. And that's what it is when you're healed. It's like a blockage. And then when you ever hold something so long and then you let it go. Imagine walking in the airport, you got this, you got that, you got this. And then you sit down, you be like, oh, you feel free. You start popping your neck and you start stretching. And you're like, I'm free. And then what happens after that? You don't want to pick that bag up no more. You like, man, I got to pick this bag up? You're free. Like you want to leave that bag right there because now everything's starting to feel good. And when you start to heal, your health even gets better.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. As I love it. I love it. I love it. So thanks for going through the rapid fire. See, I told you it wouldn't be that bad. I love it. But I'm gonna ask you this, and you got this. You had this on in your overview. You mentioned self discovery,
Mm-hmm.
right? What did Kendell
Mm-hmm.
learn about Kendell writing this book?
The same thing. I know. I be wilding sometime. I be showing out. I be showing out. I be showing out. I be like, that is not that. Like, why? Why are your emotions? What I had to really learn about me is to make sure I use emotional intelligence, because I'm a person who feels. I'm a person that has emotions, and I experience every emotion. And I have to learn to say, okay, this emotion is not, we're not going to do that here. We're not going to be crying right here. Maybe we're not going to do, and to be able to have a conversation with myself before I speak, because I think it's important to make sure you check yourself before you open your mouth. Check yourself before you wreck yourself, right? Like Ice Cube said, it's so important. So what I learned about me is that even though I know that I'm a strong person, I noticed as I was writing some things how much I've healed. I was like, I remember that, or I'm good with that, or I'm okay with letting friends go that I've had for many, many years. My favorite quote from Love Jones: all we had is all these years, and it's just not enough anymore. I started seeing my healing take place where I had a friendship that I had for like 20 years. And it was some things that she did. It's some things that she said. It was some mean ways that she was. And I was like, I no longer want to be that friend. Like, I can see it. And I said, oh, okay, you know what? I've seen her be judgmental before. I've seen her do certain things to other people. Now she's actually doing it to me. And I decided that, you know what? I'm good with it. Where the old Kendell would have been apologizing for something that I didn't even do. Or are you okay? You know what I mean? But I realized, you know what? God has an expiration for everyone. And when I decided that was no longer serving me, I was okay. Like I'm completely fine. Whereas I might have been trying to, well, let me mend it. Let me see what happened. Let me see. No, because I know my value and my worth. And people always talk about that when it comes to relationships. But what about like romantic? But what about when it comes to friendships?
Yep.
You can realize when somebody is not on your team anymore. I'll say that. And I was completely fine with it. So as writing this book, I can see different places where I have healed. I can close that door. Now work on something else. Like, that doesn't affect me anymore. And even writing the chapter on death and desertion, where I wasn't going to do it because death has always been something that I didn't like. Even when I was little, I saw something with the KKK one time, and I remember I was afraid when I was little. I saw it, and then I would think, and then I would be like, well, what happens? Well, that means if you die, there'll be no more you. And I remember when I was a little girl trying to wrap my brain on what death really meant. And then losing, important people, like, that's always been difficult for me. So to be able to write a whole chapter on some things, that's growth. That's healing. So I was able to see certain ways that I healed and certain things that I was able to talk about in this book.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Absolutely love it. Because I know we're winding down here, but I want you to talk about, and I want you to talk to those that are going through or afraid to make that step into unhealing, dealing with the unhealing. Can you give them 3, because you talked about the process. Give them 3 things that they can do to begin the process of that, and then we'll begin to close out.
The first step is always acknowledging that you need to be healed. Like that something is going on that you need to be healed. The first step is always acknowledgement and self-awareness. That's going to be the first step to your healing process. The second step is not allowing other people to talk you out of your healing. A lot of
Mm,
people will have
mm.
conversations with people. This is a you thing. This is a you and God thing. This don't have nothing to do with anybody else unless you're confronting someone who's hurt you. So sometimes when you do that, they're going to be like, let bygones be bygones. You know, why are you dredging up that? Why you know what I mean? And you have to understand they're dealing with their own healing and their own issues. And you might be presenting something to them that they're not ready for. So you have to still continue on that journey because your healing is a you thing. And number 3 is don't be afraid to ask for help, whether it's a coach, a counselor, a therapist, whether you're going to church, whether you're going to wherever your religious beliefs are. Don't be afraid to ask for help and don't be afraid to say that you're not okay.
Yeah, and that's one of the most important things is to be comfortable with saying I'm not okay.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we've been talking about a lot since last week
Mm-hmm.
with the guy
Twitch.
Twitch
Mm-hmm.
killing himself, and we've been saying even with the other comedian that killed himself earlier this year or passed away earlier this year. I don't think he killed himself, but he passed away earlier this year. But
David
yeah,
Arnold.
yeah, but saying, but being willing to say I'm not okay.
Mm-hmm.
Today I'm not doing okay,
Yeah.
and being unafraid to get that help, whatever that help may be,
Yeah.
and talking to someone,
Yeah.
and dealing with someone. So I hope everybody grasp what Kendall just gave, because she just gave a master class.
Um,
That's why she's the remix teacher. I mean, the remix coach, because she just gave you a master class in dealing with your unhealing without even touching. I hope we didn't touch the stuff in the book. I know we touched some of it, but you
no.
know, but being able to deal with our mind, body, and spirit, because that's so important.
Yeah.
And the things that you said, it's just we can't get free until we deal with the unhealing. And part of to me, part of dealing with that unhealing is having a book like this, having the tools. That's what this is.
Yeah.
This is a tool for how to deal with the unhealing. And we have to see that. And you wrote this quote, and I wanted to get it in here, and because I love it. You said healing is never a destination; it's a continuous journey. Self-awareness is a gift, and the willingness to heal is a decision that won't come up void. So understand that, y'all.
Yeah.
You know, understand that this is Kendall. I want you to, I'm gonna give you the last word in being able to talk to those individuals about the book, why they need the book, the benefits of having the book, and all of those things, and then of course where they can get the book through the season.
Yeah. I did a video today. I was in the church parking lot and I did a video today. I uploaded it to YouTube. It's a short and it's on Instagram. I was like, let it be raggedy. Let it be raggedy.
Mm.
Let it be jagged edges. It doesn't healing doesn't is not going to be perfect. It's not going to be pristine. It's not going to be tied up in a bow. Let it be raggedy. If your process is raggedy, jagged edges, unsmooth, unfinished, allow it to be that way. I think when people start a journey of healing or certain things, they're so concerned about what it looks like to the outside.
Mhm.
And that's why it's so important to really, however you show up is however you show up, because that's what the journey looks like. And sometimes it doesn't look as pretty and polished and pulled together as you want. Sometimes it might be crying every single day. Sometimes it might be mad. Sometimes you might be quiet. Sometimes you might not want to talk. Sometimes you might have all those emotions at one time, So I want to encourage you to start your healing journey if you haven't started. Continue if you're in the process, and keep pushing through your healing journey if it gets and when it gets difficult. Like, it has to become a point where you look at you and say, okay, what are certain things that are happening and showing up in my life that are common? What are those things that are happening where I'm the thread to it? What is going on? Because at the end of the day, it's not everything that you go through in life is not everybody else's fault. Sometimes it's your own fault because you haven't addressed certain things. So it's so important to be able to address certain things and love yourself through it. Give yourself grace through it. Pray through it. Meditate through it. It's so important, but don't stop. Now, there's not going to be this magic at the end of the yellow brick road where you're going to, or like a Monopoly board, collect $200 when you pass go. It's going to be, okay, now I can put that to bed. I'm doing better with that. Now let's see what else. Now, because it's a process, it's not going to be healing, period. It's always going to be a ... or a comma, because you're going to continue doing that. And self-work is a continuous work until the day you leave this earth. You're going to constantly have to work on yourself to be better, work on your spiritual self, work on your inner self, your emotions when it comes to it. It's certain ways. I know how to handle my emotions. I know how to get them under wrap. I know how to check myself. I know how to have a conversation with myself. I know how to share my feelings and emotions. I don't keep anything bottled up. And it's important not to do that because that festers. But you have to find a healthy way to be able to do it. Will you get it right 100% of the time? No. That's why life is a process. When you start healing, you might be like, this is too rough, because now I'm thinking about things that I didn't want to think about, that I pushed under the rug. And it's okay to fall back. It's okay to not be okay, but you have to be able to do your work so you can live your best life and you can free yourself of whatever's going on inside of you.
Ladies and gentlemen, Kendell Lenice, her latest book, Excuse Me, Your Unhealing is Showing. Your Unhealing is Showing. And I love that. And I forgot to ask you real quick, how did you come up with that title? What made you come up with that title? How did you come up with that?
Well, I'm gonna give you a little bit in the book. I talk about it. When I originally started writing the book, you'll read in the book what I was going to title it. I'll let you read that. But the title was something else. But Excuse Me, Your Unhealed is Showing is something that I always say. When I go speak at engagements, when I go on social media, I always say that. And every time I say that, people are like, whoa, like that just hit me like a ton of bricks. Excuse Me, Your Unhealed is Showing. And then I think I was at my tea part. I had Tea and Conversations Live. And I think that when I said it there, the response was like, whoa. And God was just like, duh, you need to name that your book. So the title that I had, I switched that around and I created this cover. I created the cover to this book, and I'm so proud of it. All my books, you'll notice they're green and purple. Those are my favorite colors. But I created this title, and I don't know if you see, the book cover. And this is just this is a no resale book, but there's a little brown Band-Aid right there. Cause back in the day, it was hard for us to get a Band-Aid that matched our color. Remember, they all used to be one color. Now they have different colors, different shades of Band-Aids, but that's a little brown Band-Aid. This is not just for brown people, but I'm a brown person. I'm a Black person, So it says Little Book, Big Healing. And it was important can you see the heart under it with a Band-Aid? Okay. When you get the book, there's a heart and there's a Band-Aid across the heart. So.
And for those authors that are listening to us, notice what she said. She said, my colors are that the colors that you see of her book, and she incorporates that in the things that she does. It's important to know what your colors are
Mm-hmm.
and how they correlate
Mm-hmm.
to the type of person that you may be, that you are, your personality, because that should come out in the different products and services that you have and that you are, so that people begin to associate you with those colors.
Yeah.
So I love that you
Thank
that you
you.
that you thought about that even with your book color,
Thank
and
you.
doing what it is that you did. So
And
that's
thank you. And you know what else I thought about? I don't want to give it away, but I was intentional about how many chapters I have
okay.
in this book for a
Hmm.
reason. And you'll read
Okay.
that in the book, why I
Okay.
decided to make that. And
Oh, cool.
I asked Reverend Kev, I gave him, I said, I have blank chapters in the book. What does it mean? And he said, it means this. I was like, yes, you got it. Because I write about what it is. I just wanted to see if he
If it,
knew right off the spot when I told. And some people will, some people won't, but everybody will read it in here why I decided to go ahead and do this. This book is really special to me. um you know how when author says every book is special, like you can't pick your kids, but this one is super special to me because it's the most vulnerable. This is the most personal, and especially in the place that I am in my healing journey, and some things, like I've had a rough couple of years, and to still be able to I'm going through a lot this year, and to still be able to produce this book, man, that's God. There ain't nothing but God. And so many people pre-ordered it. I want to say thank you. People are sending me their Amazon cart saying that they purchased it. It's $14 on Amazon.com. And people are saying they purchased it. Let me tell y'all something. I'm not asking y'all to do something that I won't do. Guess what I did? My box of books will not be here till January, because where I ordered them from, from the publisher, but I ordered my own, paid full price to get my book off Amazon, and it'll be here in 2 days. So if you got Amazon Prime, or if you got Amazon, you can get the book before the holidays. Give the gift of healing to yourself and to
mm,
somebody else that you love, but you can get it right away. So I went right on Amazon.com. I put in my name, Kendell Lenice, or this book, and then you'll see it. I was able to click it, and it was like, and so people were sending me that, like, I'm getting my book tomorrow. I'm getting my book in 2 days. So definitely do yourself a favor. It's a little book. The publisher was like, it's so cute, because I was very intentional about this book from the cover, because as a life coach in my other books, they always say, you're your brand, put yourself on the cover.
yep.
I was like, no, I don't. This book, I don't want to be on the cover. I want the title to grab someone. So it was important for me not to be. But then I was like, I'll put myself on the back. So there I am on the back. Shout out to Hugh Williams, who did my
Absolutely.
shout out to you. But I was like, I'll put myself on the back. I want the title to get. So I was intentional about that, intentional about the colors, intentional about sharing part of me after God dropped it in, was like, you got to share. And I was intentional about how many chapters. So this was very intentional for me. And I do believe, and I'm proclaiming it and claiming that this book is going to sit me in front of many men. And my gift will make room for me to share my story, but most importantly, help other people heal. And even in the book, I have like parts at the end where you can write, forgive and let live. You can write, I won't say what everything is, but then it's different. Well, I'm going to save that. But at the end, you can write in the book.
Yeah, and that's the thing. This is, you say self-awareness is a gift, and this holiday season, like you said, give the gift of healing. Somebody that you think might need this, somebody that you know needs it, you know, because they need that self-awareness. They need to deal with some things, and like you said, Kendall, a lot of people have dealt with a lot of things this year in 2022,
Mm-hmm.
and there's some things that don't need to go with us into 2023.
Ooh, come on.
So we've got 13 days to deal with them, 13 days to deal with them, and to say, you know what, yeah, I can't go into 2023 with this 2022 mindset,
Yeah.
and holding on to that back, those bricks.
Yeah.
As you said, I've got to let these bricks go.
Yeah.
Let
Yeah.
the bricks go. This holiday season, let the bricks go. And and Kendall is going to assist you in being able to let those bricks go.
Yeah.
She's gonna allow you to be able to let the bricks go, but build with those bricks.
Woo! Yes. And
So
if that's powerful, and if there's mistakes, we talked about this earlier. So if there, let me tell you, I read my book, I don't know how many times. The editor has read it. So in advance, if you see a period not there, if you see a word that's not supposed to be, if it's spelled wrong, don't charge it to any of us, because like Leroy was saying, every book got some type of error. We think we got them all, but I'm not going to read the book to even know anymore. Just read around it.
just read it. Just keep going, keep going, keep going.
Woo! Let me tell
So
you something. When my first book came out in 2005, and then we gonna go in 2005. Let me tell you, I did not even promote that novel as well as I should have, because the editor and I went back and forth probably 6, 7 times reading the book. The editor was like, I got everything, everything is good. Then when it came out and I read the book, I was like, there's a mistake. They were supposed to correct this. And I was like, people going to think that I can't spell. People, it wasn't me. When they do when they do the spell check and they change things, like if you want to put ain't and they put aren't, then, different things like that. And I was so consumed and so that I didn't even promote my book, and not realizing that it was a great book, but so focused on that. And now fast forward, I'm not focused on that, because y'all going to get the message in the book, and y'all going
yep,
to know that perfection is not a such thing. So
yeah, and I mean, and that's what my mentor, Dr. Will Moreland, says. He's like, just you want to get it out, get it out there. It doesn't have to be perfect. The
yeah,
book doesn't have to be perfect. The
yeah,
message is what you're trying to get across to people,
yeah.
and move out there. So, we want to thank you for taking time out to talk about, one, your book. Excuse me, your unhealing is showing, but
Unhealed.
not just to talk about it, but to address the issues that we have out there, the mental wellness, the mental healing that needs to take place
Yeah,
with everybody today. So thank you for sharing, because you didn't have to come on here on this Sunday evening to talk about this. So we thank you, your audience. We thank you for sharing with us this backdrop, this back piece of who you are, and about the book that's coming out. One more time, you want to give the information on where people can purchase the book, and then also connect with you if they want you to come and speak. They want
yeah.
you to come speak. If they want to, they want to book you to be able to come out.
Yes, for sure. I'm like sitting over here kind of shaking, because I'm just so filled right now. And this book is very personal. It's going to help you. It's going to share part of me. And I honestly believe that this book is God's going to make room for me with this book, because I was obedient in writing this book. I feel it and I'm claiming it. And that's what you need to do with your own healing in your life, is to claim that, You are healed. Even before you're not, you have to claim that. This book is Excuse Me, You're Unhealed is showing Healing Purposely and Aging Fearlessly. It is available on Amazon.com. If you want a signed copy, you can go to my website, KendellLenice.com, and order it that way. And I'll make sure it's signed for you. Or if you buy it on Amazon and you're local and you want me to sign it, or come to your organization or your conference or seminar or wherever to speak, I will sign them there. This is a passion project, and I was obedient in writing it, even the things that I didn't want to write. You know, I know my mom would be like, you share. She always be like, you share too much. But it's about helping people. And if I have to be the sacrificial lamb and to really share my vulnerabilities with you and my life experiences with you to help you on the process, then it's worth it. You know, as a life coach of 20 years, probably more than that, 20 years, I coach from a place of honesty. Honesty helps heal. I coach from a place of, yes, I have degrees, I have certifications, but most importantly, I have my own life experiences. And I put all of that in the coaching and all of that when I go speak. And I think it makes me a better coach, you know, and a speaker
I
to be able to do that.
I know everybody is wondering this, so I'm gonna say it too. How is she gonna be a life coach for 20 years and she ain't but 25? I know. The math ain't mathing, y'all. It ain't don't. The math ain't math. Just hear me. Yeah. Okay. She been life coaching since she was 5 years.
Oh,
She was in kindergarten in the
oh.
playground.
Thank you, sugar. I was life coaching in kindergarten. You know, I was telling people what to do or telling people what they might do. Or think about what you just said. I'm telling people that in the second grade. I'm thinking about that on the second grade. Why do you think that you did it that way?
Did you see how the seesaw when you
Right,
went on it didn't quite go?
right, right. Maybe if you just sit down and think about that for a minute, you know, maybe you'll understand a little bit. Thank you, Eddie. I appreciate you. Thank you so much. Maybe because I already was, when I look back even at my high school yearbook, and they're like, Kendell, thank you for helping me get through this tragic time in life. And I went when I was preparing, years ago for my 20th class reunion. I said, let me pull out my yearbook. I pulled out my yearbook. I was like, I was doing all of that. Thank you for helping me through this time. Thank you for being an ear to talk to. You
Wow.
helped me through this. And I was like, what I do? What I say? I didn't even know. Like, this has been a part of me.
Mm,
God put all of this in, like, this is who I've been. You know what I mean? Thank you for, cheering for me. Thank you for when nobody was there. I'm like, I don't even remember. I have no
yeah.
clue. So I've been a life coach probably since I was about 6.
All right. Before we cover, I want to say this to you. Understand this, Kendall. You're not a sacrificial lamb, and I tell people this. And when they're telling their story, you're telling your story to free someone else to tell theirs.
Ooh, yep. Amen.
Because a lot of people think that they're the only ones. I'm the
Mhm,
only one that's going through this. I'm the only one that's going through
mhm.
that. But when they're able to read your book, excuse me, your unhealing is showing, they'll be able to see, wow, I'm not the only one who's gone through this. I'm not the only person who has, done this, or the only person who has had this happen to them. And
Yeah,
in that you give them the ability to be able to heal and be free, as you talked about. So it's
yeah,
not a sacrificial lamb, but it's about allowing others to be free through you, if that
yeah,
makes sense to you.
yeah.
So
I want to, and I appreciate that. I want to read just a little bit in the beginning. When I do, in the beginning, I say healing is something that I'm passionate about. Healing is necessary for our peace of mind, growth, and livelihood. If we don't begin to heal, we will have a bumpy road in this life. We are all in need of healing, even me. As I write this book, I am healing from many things, one being a relationship that did not serve me. I go on and on. I am here to focus on my own healing. I choose to be responsible for myself. I get to decide what and who works for me, and I get to decide just like you get to decide. What's interesting is, and I talk about when I started writing this book, I was not in need of that type of healing. God is so funny that way. So the backstory is, and I told you every time I started to write, I would write through. And I said, God knew I would have some more healing to do. So that's why he had me pause. With you, my readers, I knew I would, I'm about to cry now. Healing has definitely been happening to me. I'm tuned in and tapped in, and I love it. I don't love the experience from which I need to heal. I love the fact that by God's grace, I am able to heal. I have shared parts of my life in this book that I haven't shared before. I share my healing stories and my vulnerabilities to assist you with your healing work. Healing is a process that lasts forever. There is always a why when it comes to healing. Nothing happens by chance. I believe some things are allowed when we move before hearing God. I choose to listen and lessen some painful experiences. If we have breath in our bodies, we can heal and begin again.
Ladies and gentlemen, Kendell Lenice. Kendell, all right, I'm going to give it back over to you. You can have your show back now.
Whew, I was skipping around in the book. So some parts I was just skipping. So you'll see it kind of cohesive as you read it. But I just want to thank everybody in advance for watching this. Please share this on your social media pages if you can. Please comment. Please subscribe. I'm almost at my where I need to be to advance to the next level in this content creating world. But most importantly, besides all of that, I really just want you to begin your process of healing, whatever that looks like to you, because all of our healing doesn't look the same. And sometimes you think you're healed until you hear something, see something, smell something, and then that healing shows, that unhealed part shows, and you're like, okay, I still have work to do. And that's okay, because that's what this life is about. It's about learning, it's about growing, it's about healing. And when I read back, I'm like, some parts I don't even remember, because that's how transparent I was. I was writing as I was feeling and as God was downloading. So I hope that this book helps you. Most importantly, I hope that this book heals you. You can get your copy on Amazon.com. It's $14. If you have Prime, there's no shipping, free shipping, $14 straight. Please give the gift of healing to yourself and to your friends and your family. And let's break the chains of our families. Let's be the first generation, whatever that is to you, to begin the healing process, to be able to voice when you're not okay, to be able to ask for help when you need it, and to be able to identify what you need to heal and be self-aware. Let's pull up all the rugs across the land, and let's start focusing not on the dirt under the rug, but the healing above the rug. Leroy, thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And I didn't like in this ain't a, let me just say this ain't a tell all, mudslinging, name calling. It's not that type of book. It's not like, ooh, let me see the dirt that she gonna say about this person. No, it's classy. I keep it 100, and I tell you my experience on how I need to heal. It's not about slinging mud on anybody, but it's about sharing my truth and my testimony. when it comes to healing. When I'm talking about, friends or family or incidents or events, this is my book, my experience. So I just want to say that it ain't no tell-all messiness. It's a healingness. But Leroy, thank you so much for doing this. I appreciate you. This was good. You did good, Leroy. It's Dr.
Absolutely.
Leroy Takeover. Bye, y'all. Thank you so much for watching. Please leave a comment. Let me know if you got the book. Leave an Amazon review. That's so important.
Yes.
Leave an Amazon review. Share it with your friends and family. Let's try to make this type of book a #1 bestseller on Amazon to help folks. Not to dish dirt, but to help people. That would be awesome. That would be all right. All right, Leroy, thank you.
All right, lady. Thank you.
Make sure you get your copy today on Amazon.com. Give the gift of healing to yourself and the ones you love. Excuse me, your Unhealed is showing.